After many years of pleading, I am pleased to see the FAA finally take action to begin to regulate this congested airspace, but I fear that the steps being taken are simply not enough. For at least 10 years, I have been demanding regulation of the helicopter industry in New York. In 1999, after receiving numerous complaints from constituents about helicopter traffic, I called on the FAA to regulate our airspace. The FAA responded that they lacked the statutory authority to regulate airspace below 1,100 feet. Subsequently, we got a study authorized to analyze the impacts of helicopter traffic, but the events of 9/11 put the topic of helicopters temporarily on hold. Over the last 2 years, we have redoubled our efforts to get the FAA to regulate our increasingly crowded airspace. We, in fact, met with the FAA to discuss this issue as recently as July and had a follow-up meeting scheduled for late August, one that was scheduled well before the terrible crash. Throughout this entire time, including in July, the FAA insisted to us that it lacked the statutory authority to regulate the airspace in the New York City corridor below 1,100 feet. Obviously, this claim was not true, as we kept telling them it was not true. I am gratified that after the crash, the FAA has finally reversed its position and now agrees that it has statutory authority to regulate this airspace. It is tragic and absolutely unacceptable that it took 9 deaths to produce this belated concession on a matter of clear law. The mid-air collision has provided an impetus for action, but the congestion in New York's airspace is a widespread problem beyond just this one incident. I support the measures FAA has proposed to improve operating procedures for pilots in the area, but they are simply not enough. For example, the FAA will develop and make available training for pilots and controllers in the Hudson River exclusion area. But why is this training voluntary? We require training for pilots in the Washington, D.C. area. Why isn't the FAA mandating training for anyone that flies in the New York area, especially given the density, security sensitivity, and complexity of New York's airspace? More importantly, why has the FAA not taken action to address the main problem of congestion? By the FAA's own estimates, there are about 600 aircraft occupying this airspace on a typical good weather day. Why doesn't the FAA limit the number of flights at least until satellite-based technology is available to track and manage traffic? The FAA has proposed stratifying the airspace with local aircraft like air tours, all flying below 1,000 feet, essentially allowing the same number of flights but shrinking the space that they are allowed to fly in. I have referred to the Hudson River as the Wild West because of the appearance that this heavily used and congested airspace is a free-for-all, without any regulation or control whatsoever, and too much uncontrolled traffic to be able to operate safely in the corridor. Under the FAA plan, it will still be the Wild West, just in a more constrained geographic area. I fear this could actually make the situation worse, and it will certainly exacerbate noise and safety concerns. If there is any good news in all of this, it is that there is technology out there which could allow better management of aircraft, such as the ADS-B system, a component of NextGen that is a satellite-based GPS detection system. ADS-B is not yet operational, but the FAA should give priority to congested areas and potentially use New York as a test area for earlier implementation than its proposed 2020 deadline. In the meantime, the FAA should consider limiting, if not banning, flights below 1,100 feet. Certainly, tourist flights, which serve no real function except some commercial profit. And contrary to the mayor, I do not believe that any substantial number of tourists are not going to come to New York and harm the tourism industry because of a lack of helicopter flights. But certainly there should be a limit or perhaps a ban on flights below 1,100 feet until these radar systems are available to track them. Thank you again for holding this hearing and for permitting me to participate. I look forward to hearing from the witnesses and to working with all of you to improve the safety of New York's over-congested airspace. I yield back.